Precious Williams, I am so happy to have you on this screen, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, all the places.
Hey, let's get it popping. I'm so happy
Let's
to
get
be
this.
here with you, Queen.
Oh my goodness, we're going to just add a lot of value for people today. So if you're watching right now and
Get
you
ready.
have questions for myself, yeah, get ready. If you have
Get
questions for
ready.
myself, if you have questions for Precious, please, please put those in the chat and we're just going to have a great conversation. So just to do a brief introduction, we have Precious Williams here. She is with Perfect Pitch Group. She is an international speaker. She has been on Shark Tank. She's been, I mean, where have you not been? You are amazing. You are helping people get really super clear about their pitch. And you're helping them with their presentations. And like you, I'm very passionate about helping people find their voice and bring their stories to life. So I want to know a little bit about you, Precious, and how what was that intersection in your life that made you go that transformational moment in time that made you go, this is what I want to do?
I often think about that. Amazing question. I often think about when I was 16. So that's when I got my first paid speaking engagement, but that's not really where things got solidified. I believe it was my second speaking engagement outside of darkness. I was speaking at, it's not called Paramount, but it was called Viacom. Viacom. I was at Viacom for Smart and Sexy Day. My second speaking engagement out of darkness from 2018. So now we're in 2019. I'm speaking, I'm keynoting, I'm speaking to Viacom executives, I'm speaking to women who've gone through transition. And I heard my creator say, give it to them raw. When I tell you, I knew what that meant. So there was a Precious who could, perform and do it. And then there was the Precious that wanted to come out and show them who I really am. And so as great as a speaker as I might have thought I was, it wasn't until I accepted that I am funny and that not only am I talented, but I can break things down and bring humor and professionalism. I can engage the audience. I can ask questions and not be afraid of the answer. I just knew that there was more to me as a speaker. And in that moment, I shared part of my background with them that they didn't know, that when I first spoke at Bottomless Closet, that even got me there. I just walked out of homelessness. And when they're giving money, and a lot of these philanthropists and these companies, when they give money, they never expect to see someone like me who fell so hard on their face, who people gave up on. And here I am speaking to executives again. Here I am, and no one knew that until I said it. And I wasn't coming from a place of shame. I was saying, there's so many people who are one paycheck away from being where I was. The fact that I hashtag bounce back harder, the fact that I'm speaking to y'all had no idea. The fact when I got hired, I was homeless. Yes. And this is what can happen. So while you're thinking people can only go to a certain level, no, you can come back to the level and exceed. And so in that moment, watching their faces and me stepping into Precious and becoming the killer pitch master, the ultimate rainmaker, the creative outsider, and the atmosphere shifter all came into one. And that is when it happened.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I love that you use this word, Precious, raw. Like,
Yes.
you allowed yourself to be raw. Can you explain to the people who are watching right now, what does that mean? Because I know what it means, but I feel like that's the intersection that a lot of people are so terrified to cross over because they're afraid of judgment or they do hold shame. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
When it comes to being real and raw, let me just say this, and Meridith, you and I know this. Raw depends on the audience. So if I'm training executives, it was very different from what I was doing there. I was keynoting.
Yeah.
There were things they don't need to know about my background because it will color how they receive the training. So when it came to me being raw, what was the reason I was brought in to speak? And it was not to really speak about my background, but to really show what it means to be the killer pitch master, what it means to start a company with no money and pitch and win $500,000 live on national television. What does it mean to win 13 national competitions? That's where I was speaking from. But honestly, because I went through homelessness, addiction, feeling like everybody turned their back on me, feeling like my skill sets, talents, and abilities were not being seen because I'm a Black woman, full figure diva, plus size fashionista. There were all these isms put on me. I am differently abled, and I had to push past all of that and say I belong in every room that I'm in. I just don't belong everywhere. Shout out to my queen, Kelly Charles Collins. That rawness to say, yes, I've made mistakes, because everybody in this room has. Most of y'all have the benefit of being able to hide behind titles. But in order for me to be the speaker, the trainer, the killer pitch master, I have to embrace all of it. And if someone wants to bring it up, because people have a tendency to bring it up as you hit levels of success, remember when, yeah, I do. And that was then and this is now. Mm-hmm. And the person you're seeing today, I'm not going to be ashamed of being an unwanted child. I'm not ashamed of coming from nothing. I'm not ashamed of hitting rock bottom 3 times. What you're also seeing is a transformation of someone who accepts all it. I was at rock bottom. That's why I'm looking out. I can look out my window right now, and I'm on the highest floor in my building, and I can look down, and I can also look into the city. To do that in such a short period of time, I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. I'm that girl. My past does not make me ashamed. My present is bright in my future. What? So that rawness, not allowing people to see me how they used to and tell you that's who I am today. I'm still a 13-time national champion. I've still trained over 420 national pitch champions. I have still written 5 #1 best-selling books. My clients are those logos that y'all know so much about. And it's not because I'm Black, not because I'm a woman. It's because I'm the best in the world at what I do. Catch that tea.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You are like all those things made you and brought you to the place that you are now.
Yes.
All of them. And if you hadn't experienced them, you would not be the amazing human that you are today.
Very much. Very much. Very much. And I'm very proud. So as we're having these conversations, you're going to have people, women and men, and LGBTQ plus, non-binary individuals. I don't want you to sit here and think everything needs to be broadcast all at the same time. It doesn't. However, I'm a real person, and sometimes speakers and those who present, we can have this certain look and act and ability. I'm still a real woman. I know what it's like to eat out of garbage cans. I know what it's like to be in a down economy. I came out of law school in 2007. Y'all remember 2008, scrambling to find the job when there was too much week at the end of the money. So to sit here before you all today, I'm sharing that, but I also share from a place of power, because I'm not there anymore. And if I allowed those limitations to stop me, y'all would never see me being funny on stage. And actually, Queen, I just won an award last week, the Career Optimizer National Speakers Award, because of my ability to bring humor and engagement and enlightenment all at the same time as a keynote. And that's nationally voted on. And so when I'm in Vegas on the 16th for the Smart Women Summit, don't think I take these lightly. I don't take it lightly that I was in Forbes on the same day. Don't think I take it lightly that there are spaces that I'm in that I once dreamed of. And then there's spaces I didn't even know existed. Mm-hmm. Why? It's because of the very thing we're talking about. Like, who wants to be dull? And people may think, oh, that's cool. And that shows that you're a learned professional. I'm like, no.
Dull is not professional.
Was it ever? Because I went to law school, and I always realized that those who talked about theory had nothing to do with people who were practical. So in the courtroom, baby, I sliced and diced, baby. I thought I was on my F. Lee Bailey. I was on my Johnny Cochran. I was on my Perry Mason. I was on my I thought I was on my LA law. Baby, you couldn't tell me nothing. But at the firm, meek and mild.
Well, what I'm hearing is it's building trust. You build your trust with your audience. You know your audience. Then you can bring in the spice.
Oh, what? Yes. And that's why it's great to work with organizers and event planners, because you do want to know who's usually in the audience. And here's another thing, Quinn, that I think is great when you're talking about ditching the dull. I love to walk into the spaces before anybody gets there. You know, it's just us
Yeah.
organized event planners. And I like to feel the energy of the room. And
Yep.
then I like to come down when people are coming in. I love to, when they come in, because it informs me is how I'm going to start, really how I'm going to start, because usually it'll change. I asked my creator, okay, I'm feeling a different energy in the room. Now, even though we have the PowerPoint in the back, because some people are visual. And that's why I
Yep.
be popping. Shout out to Ian, my executive assistant. He always be popping when it's the graphics. But my intro will change depending on what the audience is giving me. Sometimes you'll walk into a space and everybody's looking good, but you can tell they're feeling bad. So it's time for me to thug it out. It's time for me to hype it up. It's time for me to show them, like, check, like, mask off. Mask off. We're going to have some fun. You're going to learn today. We're going to cook it up in a crock pot and we're going to get it popping. And they're like, oh my goodness, she's really hurt. I'm like, yes, I really am that girl. But I'm also someone who understands if you want it dull and boring, which most people, we think that's what they're going to get, you're not going to get it with me. So strap on your seatbelts. This is going to be a fun ride.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to go back and just share that you just gave a lot of gold there too, which is there is a lot more. It's more than just walking the space. It is about feeling the energy of the room. It is about noticing what you notice in your body, whether that be from source or whomever, or just by the bodies that are sharing that space with, like, it's getting to really know the space. And it's also that ability to let go, to pivot in the moment, that you might have rehearsed the heck out of that thing and you've got your intro down like that, but you need to know that you're going to probably most likely have to let that go because your audience isn't who you thought they were.
Right.
Or they might have just come out of some sort of an event that got them into some sort of a mindset, or whatever the thing is. It's what is so magical. That's why I teach improv to so many people, is that you've got to learn how to be adaptable. You got to learn how to use your audience. You got to interact with them. It's a kinesthetic response. So I just love everything that you just said. And I think that is so valuable. There's a saying that I love, which is not too tight, not too loose. Like walk into every situation, not too tight, not too loose.
It is so good that you said that. And honestly, if we're really keeping it a bean, this is things you learn over time. I don't expect a novice to know how to do all of this. As you all know, this is my 29th year in speaking. Been doing it since I was 16. In the beginning, my teachers wrote my speeches. And then as I got older, especially when I had that moment where I realized they want someone who is different, someone who's not going to regurgitate what some guru says. Why don't you become your own guru?
Yeah.
When I became the killer pitch master, yes, I won 13 national titles, but that didn't mean I could teach it. When I found out that I could teach and train and now have this roster of clients who've won, we're not even talking about second and third place because we're into the thousands. When I started getting, when I started having these media appearances and being able to break things down into elements no one ever had. It wasn't the Google school of pitching. It wasn't my name is, this is what I do. Man, that's plate and that's booty. It's booty.
Nobody cares.
It's a nice way to start when you don't know anything. However, if you want you want to slice and dice in your pitches and your presentations, you got to bring more. And it has to be more than, just be authentic. Because some people authentically ain't right. They just ain't right.
Well, and I think people get confused about what that word authentic means because it gets thrown around so much, right? Be authentic. Well, come on, help me out. What does that even mean?
Right. And so, I am funny in real life. I do like to add humor. I throw in rock references, hip hop references, country references, because there's so many different types of people in the room, right? I also love to say this, honestly, because there's some things that are just simply you. Yes, I'm Black on both sides, no Brazilian butt lift, no six-pack abs. We're like, what? Yes. So you might have the impression because I am a Black woman that I only speak to Black professionals. That is not true. As my queen, Coach Wendy Y. Bailey, Income Acceleration Coach, said to me, you're a world-class master communicator. So when people see you in front of these audiences that mostly don't look like you at times, or all these different types of audience, you're global. You're world-class. So when people try to limit me, I'm like, baby, I never had the Coke bottle shape, but I've been in movies and documentaries around the world. I'm flued out like an Instagram thotty. I don't fit the mold, and that's okay. I'm 45 years old. It's the 45-year-old glow up and the grow up. So I'm not going to allow society to tell me as a 45-year-old woman, I don't have any value. Catch these tiger stripes as I give you this work, right? When I was on Shark Tank, what did I wear? I wanted to stand out in a way that showed. You may think of a plus size woman as throwaway, she ain't no, but you ain't met the full figure diva and the plus size fashionista. You never met the fun gal about town. You never met someone like Ric Flair. I always remember him from WWF, WWE. To be the best, you've got to beat the best. And you can't do it using what they use. You got to come so out of the box, they're not ready for you. And stand in it when they want to keep telling you this is the only way. There is no just that way. My creator created me to be different and yet professional grade. And yet professional grade. I am not the cult of personality. I am professionally trained at teaching because I trained myself and I've trained others. So my things are my things. And Queen, just being on your show right now, you can cut me off, listen, call the guy from Apollo to put me off. It's important to be you. When I say authentic, I'm a true killer pitch master. I'm someone who broke through molds, and I didn't always do it perfect. The only thing perfect about me are my pitches and my presentations. Me personally, I'm still a work in progress. So my launches aren't all perfect. None of that is, but I love testing. And if you think about ditching the dull, if you've been talking the same way, if you're not adding, changing up your cadence, if you're not doing certain things, there's certain things I learned on movie sets. There's certain things I learned on television. Like why do I spend so much money on lighting, makeup, clothes? It's a reason because everything has to look a certain way. The words coming out of your mouth. You want to be seen. You want to be the only choice that matters. Make yourself that way.
Okay, you just dropped, again, a lot of different nuggets that I'm just going to reflect back a little bit. Right?
I can't. I love you.
I mean, there's a lot. I don't know if I'm going to get all of them, but I know that we have a lot of people who are watching right now. So thank you. And thank you for the comments in the chat section. But there's just so much juiciness here. Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I see you. So some of the things that you just dropped, which is and I feel like these are things that I say repeatedly. Let's go back to the authenticity piece. And I have a question about that because I want you to expand on it, because a lot of people I feel are like, well, how do I bring my uniqueness into this space? I don't even know the first step for how to do that. So let's put a flag in that one. The other thing I heard, let's put a flag in that one. And then the other thing I heard you say, which I've said so many different times, is that you need to have all of the elements in alignment, right? You just said, yes. And sometimes that stuff is out of your control. I get it. Sometimes those event planners aren't hearing you. Sometimes you show up and you're like, this is not, I just did an event recently where we had to move from one ballroom to the next, and it was not the setup I hadn't anticipated. You got to be adaptable, right? But then what does that mean to have everything in alignment? How do you get your lighting, your sound, all of the things working? That sometimes means that you might need to hire somebody to help you do that. And that it's okay if you don't know how to do all of those things.
Clock it.
Right? And that's okay. It's okay to ask for that help. Okay, so let's go back to the flag, which was the unique piece. Help us understand, what does that mean to bring who you are unique, your unique self, because I feel like that's what I mean by ditch the dull, right? Like we watch people present all day long, and some of the people I work with are in technical industries, and it's as if they're all modeling after each other what they think they should be doing or how they think they should be showing up. And I will say this much, it's not differentiating yourself from the rest when you show up the way that your leadership showed up, or you show up the way that your colleague just showed up. So what does that mean to be unique?
So what I mean by being unique and being your authentic self, which I still think both of those are still different.
Yeah,
unique,
they are.
Okay, so I'm taking from my childhood and coming forward. So I was always told I was never quite good enough, right? And yet I knew I was a star on the inside. I knew I was going to write the great American novel. I knew I was going to have a billboard in town. I knew I was going to host television shows. How does a little hood girl think she can when she's chocolate and really thin? I know y'all see me today like, you was really thin. Yeah, I was. Anyway, there was something in me. So I needed to talk. I needed to be able to read at a different level. And so for me, because I didn't have the looks and never thought I would grow into any looks, my personality had to develop. I had to get people to notice me when beauty was all around me. What was it about me? It was about being the loudest. It was being able to read rooms, read energy. So I really paid attention to the intangibles and the soft skills most people don't pick up on. They do love big personalities. They love things of beauty, but I didn't know if I had that. But what I was able to do was read very well, and it would read in my spirit, it would read in my mind, and I would know how to act accordingly. The older I got, and when I actually did become an attorney, things started to synthesize for me in a way that when I'm in the courtroom, there's a different precious, because I always wanted to be in the courtroom, slicing and dicing and putting the prosecutors on notice. You ain't never met someone like me. And we're going to walk out of here today, not guilty, period. And just knowing I had that skill set. As a speaker, how was I going to be able to use that after the darkest parts of my life? So as I spent 2 years in homeless at the Bowery Mission Women's Center, and notice how all of these are working together. So as Steve Jobs always says, you connect the dots backwards, not forwards. So now I understand that my personality was developed really young to be able to read situations in ways other people couldn't. Developing a sense of humor, because people love funny people.
They do.
Another thing is, with my presentations and even my pitches, I had to set the scene in the audience's mind of where I wanted them to go. Mm-hmm. And when you make pitches and presentations differently, put color and flavor. So when I show up, y'all know I usually don't wear black. I really don't wear black. When I'm on stage, I'm bright and I'm colorful. Things are tailored to my body, because there was a point where I realized that my message would not land unless I looked how I wanted to look in my mind. And in my mind, I knew I was a Spelman woman. I just never thought I looked like it. At 45, I see her. I see the woman who was formerly rejected, who embraced herself and was her biggest cheerleader. I think about the audience. And so my authentic self, my uniqueness showed up in what did they need to hear versus what did they want to hear. The world will give you all this wanting to hear. You need to be this, you need to be that. Most people are not those things. Most people are not the things that they keep watching on social media. And so they feel bad about themselves. I tell it, let's flip the script and plot twist and have a new standard. My standard is not Tony Robbins or Brene Brown or Lisa Nichols or Les Brown. You know who my standard is? The best version of Precious.
Yes. So yes, Santa, I just want to give you kudos for that one, because I think that was a big one, which is the comparison piece.
Yes.
Like if you're sitting there right now thinking to yourself, I've always wanted to be a speaker. I've always wanted to be great at pitching. I've always wanted to just be in front of more people. I've always wanted to tell my story, but
clock it.
Clock that. Because
yeah, and that's part of the problem. When you're talking about ditching the dough, people have speaker coaches, speaker trainers. That's wonderful. But if all you do is sound like them, and trust me, those of us who do this a long time, we can hear it. I promise you, we can hear that you put it together the way they have. One of the things that makes me unique, and I'm sure you too, Queen, is I have no desire for you to sound like Precious 2.0. I hope you don't. I want you to be the best version of you, so we're gonna work on your strengths. Your weaknesses, baby, I got some weaknesses, and I don't care. Listen, I can't cook like my grandmother, can't clean like my grandmother. That's why we have people to come in and help us, because we ain't got it. So there are things about you that aren't reflected in my background. There are things about you that you've been hiding that the world would love to see, to know that it is possible. Some of y'all love to put puzzles together. That'll help in your actual speeches, but you're trying to fit into this mold. Some of y'all don't know how to synthesize what your guru or your coaches are saying and make it your own. That's where authenticity comes in. That's where uniqueness comes in. It is not about taking this quote and basing your whole life on it. Write your own freaking quotes.
Yes. Yes.
Like this is you. I'm a bad
bitch.
You. pitch. What you talking about? That's the name of my first book, Bad Bitches and Power Pitches. For women entrepreneurs and speakers only. Pitching for profit, the Bad Bitches playbook to convert conversations into what? Currency. Rainmaking 101, packaging, positioning, and pitching. Why are all of those titles so like that? Because that's me. It's not based on what somebody told me. I want to name a book The Pitch Bitch, but we came up with The Pitch Queen. The purpose and purpose, speaking of BMW. Our fourth book hadn't come up yet, and they were like, Precious, we love you, BMW. True T. Before that book came out, they were like, Pitch Bitch ain't gonna work. And my friend, Nicole Nixon, Data, black woman named Data, she said, Precious, why don't you name it The Pitch Queen? And so we did. Work with my publisher, change that. They were like, okay, yeah, you book. We want your books. We order in at least 250 of your books. So that was a change because a company wanted that. They weren't, this is a global, they didn't want that word in there. Did I want to change it? Actually, I did, because there was one part of Precious that was all about the bad bitch. And then there was another part of me that was growing and plot twisting. So the pitch queen, then Rainmaking 101. So that word was taken out of the vocabulary. But as you all can see, a pitch and a presentation, the title alone, you want to bring people in. And because I'm the killer pitch master, I want certain things to have you. I want you to hate it or love it. If you hate it or love it, I'm doing my job.
Yes.
And so your presentations, you can be an introvert and slice and dice. You can be an introvert and have like Tupac, all the eyes on me. Or you can be out of control. Okay. There are companies that will never hire me. I accept that because I'm not the traditional. But if you want to hire someone who's going to turn up, change up your sales pitching and your sales scripting, who do you call? Precious. Not even Ghostbusters. You call Precious. If you else, yes, you hire me because I'm not even going to show up. I know who are my clients are the Googles, LinkedIn's, and Microsoft. They are the HubSpots and SiriusXM. They are the Verizons and stuff like that. Yeah, still black on both sides. No Brazilian butt lift. No six-pack ab. This ain't Black History Month. Not Women's History Month. I'm hired all year long.
Well, I think you just brought up something really important as well, which is that you are attracting the people that you want to be working with. It's not the other way around, right? Like sometimes we're like, oh, but I don't want to turn off potential customers. Well, why do you want to work with people who don't? Why do you want to work with people who don't like you? And why are you going to adjust who you are?
And may never like you. Never.
And may never like you, and might be micromanaging you to fit into their idea of what they feel needs to be seen and what they feel their audience needs to hear. But they don't necessarily, especially when you're in it, we all know this, when we're in it, we don't necessarily know who our employees or colleagues, what they might need, but someone from the outside might see it very differently.
True.
So there's a lot of trust.
It is. And also allowing yourself to define yourself. Like, I don't expect new speakers or new presenters to know all of this. I don't. No. What I expect you to do is try and test and to know that it's okay. It's okay if everything isn't perfect. We did our first The Rainmaking Speaker live experience on July 27th in Newark. Let me tell you something, just finding a space. And mind you, I've just come back from North Carolina speaking at National Association of Women Business Owners Greater Rally Installation and Gala. I just done the keynote. So there was a lot of things. First two places, things just happened. The third place, the air conditioning system was just not working. And so I had my attendees eat breakfast, which only left me with 4 hours. 4 hours to do 6 hours worth of work.
Oh, yeah.
One of the attendees, and I thank her because she challenged me the entire time. She said, you better be good. That I'm like, whoa, okay. I got to rise to the occasion with the air conditioning being out. They brought in fans, they brought in everything. And I just had to say to myself, I am the best in the world when it comes to this. I've been on stages where there've been no podium. I don't need a podium. Baby, give me a mic and a light like Beyonce, but without having to do all Beyonce's dances. Give me a mic and a light. The most beautiful thing is afterwards, just hearing from the attendees that they loved what I did.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, I could tell that there was something, but you just kept going regardless. And all I could say was, y'all showed up. I'm going ham and cheese, peanut butter and jelly. There are things that are going to happen when you're on stage. The mic may go out. The attendees may. I was speaking in Canada at Blue Mountain tech CEOs. That's all it was, tech CEOs. I'm coming out to Nicki Minaj moment for life. When I tell you it was quiet as a church house mouse, I've never had that reaction. It's because the audience was different.
Yeah.
They're not American tech CEOs. These were Canadian tech CEOs at a private resort. And so when I walked out and they looked, when I say quiet, I'm gonna tell you, me and my creator were having a conversation. Literally, I was like, oh my God, they're not doing it. And then mind you, I'm doing my thug thizzle and I am freaking out. And I heard my creator say, slow it down, match their energy. Now, this could have been 10,000 years, but it might have been all of 10 seconds. And I did just that. And I just started speaking quieter. And over time, I started ratcheting up, but it took that. Y'all don't know. I want to cry. I was like, my whole life just flashed before my eyes.
Yeah.
And by the time it was over, they were on their feet. And one of the conference organizers came up to me. He said, we've never actually seen someone do what you just did. I said, what? They said, we actually watched you in real time match us. Because people come from the United States and they have a lot of energy. And then they just kind of crash and burn. We could literally see you understanding your assignment. And yeah, we should have told you, we didn't. And a lot, the 70% of the tech CEOs were Indian. They weren't Caucasian, they weren't Black, they weren't Latinx, they weren't Asian Pacific Islander, they were Indian. And so there was a different, a totally different approach to me. And I thank my creator because paid attention and did not watch me crumble. I just had to understand, as a speaker, you're going to have trying moments. And that will stick in my mind. That was like 2 years ago. It sticks in my mind. Again, yes, I walk through. Yes, I do this. But it still doesn't tell you until you are doing your thing. If there is no reaction or people are just kind of like, I mean, they were looking at me just like, you know, that look, they're all going to laugh at you. That's how it felt. And I'm sitting here like, and they literally watched me calm down and match and just do it. So I thought I was on punked or something. It was just, that's how they are. And what a lesson for me as a speaker. I don't know every answer, but I do know this. Thank you for reminding me that there's still lessons to learn.
All the time. You said it earlier on, that work in progress. I feel like we're all constant works in progress. To me, perfection is highly overrated. You have said, get out there and test, and keep testing until you find your unique voice in it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and you're not going to be able to find your unique voice unless you actually do.
Yes, which means you have to test, which means you have to try, which means all of those things. I think it's just important that we allow ourselves to test. And it's just like when you're launching something. We launched 2 or 3 things this year, and you know, a couple of people on my team were like, you know, what if it doesn't work out? And I said, but what if it does?
Yeah.
My job is to regurgitate the same thing year after year. That's played to me. That's so played. I'm growing as a speaker. I'm growing as an entrepreneur. I'm growing as a trainer. I'm growing as a teacher. I'm growing as a woman. I'm growing. It should be reflected in what we offer to our audience. So you should not be getting Precious from 2019. You should be getting Precious 2024 going into 2025 edition. Okay, clock it.
Precious, we are at time, and I let it go over a little bit.
My bad. Sorry.
No, I could have sat here and talked to you for a full hour, but so I feel like we just need to have another conversation with each other, because I feel like we have so much. You have so much, just like wealth of knowledge and heart to share with people, and so I just so appreciate you taking 30 minutes out of your day to have this conversation with me, to help out some folks, to give them permission to just keep doing, like take action. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't. And the more you do things, the more you're going to find your voice. And also, I just want to reflect back to that raw piece, which is allow who you are to shine through, because it's a pretty beautiful person.
Thank you, Queen. Do they have my contact information or anything?
Well, I put it up here. You've a perfect pitch group with Precious Williams. Please connect with Precious if you haven't already on LinkedIn. This is also being live streamed on YouTube and will be coming out again as a podcast at some point. I got lots of things planned, Precious, but we will also have another juicy conversation at some point.
We gonna do that.
Yes, we are. And keep this discussion alive on LinkedIn. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. All right. Take care. Have an amazing